Hey everyone, we're here today to talk about the FaZe Clan and TFue Lawsuit and Contract. So I wanted to get started here and just talk about a few things before we break down what the really important aspects of this lawsuit and the contract really are, and I'll give you my opinion on it from a legal perspective as a law student. So the first things first. Tfue, a popular gamer, filed a lawsuit in California court system regarding their contract. And there's a few different pieces of that I wanted to go over. So a couple of things the lawsuit alleges is a material breach of contract, i.e. that FaZe Clan didn't make payments for all of the money that was taken in through brand deals or sponsorship deals or even prize money. It's kind of broad as to what specifically he's talking about, what money's justly due and owed. But that's one thing he's alleging. Some of the other things he's alleging in a video he just put out negates what he previously said, meaning it voids it. He said with the gambling, and the pressure to drink alcohol as an underage, that really wasn't a thing, and he asked his legal team to take it out of there. Now, I'll get into why the legal team probably left that information in there, and in addition to why they put all the different allegations in the lawsuits, all the different complaints, because they had around 8 different things listed. So when you're filing a lawsuit, what you want to do is you want a broad stroke. You want to create these multiple different things that potentially could have happened, or you're saying, well, for this reason, this reason, this reason, and this reason, we want a lawsuit. Now, on its face, that's what it's called. A judge is going to look at it and they're going to say, well, no, no, no. But you want one or two to stick, and you have a better chance of that happening with more of what we would call a shotgun approach. Spray a bunch of different things, see what sticks. But one of the most interesting things is the lawsuit itself, and if you watch some of the other legal perspectives on this and other people's opinions, the lawsuit itself is more of a preemptive, or there was a little bit of mystery around it, because when you watch those, you'll see, and I agree with, the lawsuit itself lacks specificity, meaning that they don't allege specific amounts, numbers, dates, times, or additional agreements to the contract that weren't honored. So in contract law, and really this is what it's all about, it's about contract law. It's not about the lawsuit, it's all about the contract they're signing. So when you're looking at this, I would look at it from a contract law perspective. That's what they're negotiating currently. And some new videos have came out both from Tfue and from FaZe Clan about the contract negotiations. So that's really what's at issue here. But I think it makes sense to look at the lawsuit first and then jump into how it's really a contract law argument, or how it falls in the contract law arena. So a couple of the really interesting things in the lawsuit is, after the broad stroke, they talk about material breach of contract, which is that party A didn't do what they said they were going to do, and therefore party B should get out of the contract. Now, in normal contract law, you would look at cases where, let's say you have a builder and a property owner, and they sign a contract for a 4-month deal, and that the builder's going to put up a building, and it's going to include X, Y, and Z. And let's say one of the things is a fire sprinkler system. And to your business, that's really important. You need the fire sprinkler system, or you can't start your business and you won't pass codes and all this other stuff. So you get the building, he gets it done, and there's no sprinkler system, and it can't be done, and you're going to have to pay someone else to do it. And you would say that's a material breach of contract, and you would say, I want out of the contract. I want to pay him for that, for that portion. And the judge could determine, okay, well, section 5C, that's off the table. There was a material breach, you can get out of the contract. And normally it doesn't happen that late in the game, but that's just an example off the top of my head. So that would constitute a material breach, allowing the other party to say, I don't want to be in the contract anymore, or they could renegotiate it, which is what FaZe Clan and Tfue are doing currently, or trying to do. The other thing is the unconscionability. So what that is a legal term in contract law where one party is the contract favors them so heavily that it's unfair, it's unconscionable. You almost can't believe it. And that's what a lot of the complaint has been about, is that this contract is so unfair favoring FaZe Clan that it should be thrown out for the unconscionability. That they don't deserve that it's so unfair that Tfue should be allowed to leave because it doesn't benefit him in any way. One of the things that I see a lot of, and you guys have seen a lot of, is people saying, wow, this contract's really messed up. And if you look at some of the videos, especially from, let's say, Keemstar or Dr. Disrespect, they'll talk about industry standards. Industry standards being 10, maybe even less percent of probably a gross we're talking, or just initial deals. So an agent books you a gig, you get, you negotiate the amount, let's say that it's $1,000. Off the top, they take 10%. And that might be your agency fee. Now, one of the other things I've done a little bit in the entertainment law industry. I've seen a bunch of contracts. I've signed some. I've done some personally. And what I will say from myself and others is that while 10% and 10 to 20% is standard, sometimes you have an agent and a management. And so it can range on the higher end, but it really depends on where you are and how famous you are. Someone like Tfue can negotiate a better contract than someone who's like a up-and-coming actor or a lower tier person. So they're probably going to have a better contract. Now, that's not the point. The point is that with someone taking 80% of your profits for whatever portion, you're not going to want to sign that. If you had taken that to if you had taken that contract to any attorney prior to signing it, they would have revised it. They would have said, "Don't sign this." They would have negotiated a better deal. So I think that's one thing that people are missing in saying, "Oh man, I don't understand how Tfue could do this. FaZe made him, blah 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 blah." That's nice, but you don't sign a contract like that. You don't sign those rates. And FaZe Clan released a video saying, "Oh, we've never collected on the 80%. We've only received $60,000 from him." Okay, well, here's the thing. That's not really the point. When you sign a contract, sign in the dotted line, right? Unless there's a part of the contract that includes addendums or amendments to the contract, really, when you go to a court of law, what you signed is what you get. There's no backing out. So if FaZe Clan said, "Hey, I want my 80%," Tfue is beat. I mean, he's got to pay up. That's where he signed. And so up until this point, until the negotiation started, there was nothing he could do if it went south for him. And so in the law, you want to be best prepared to protect yourself, even for the worst case. So while a handshake deal constitutes a contract, and it might post-date the initial legal written contract, there's really no proof of that. I mean, he could have went to FaZe Banks and said, "Hey man, blah blah blah," and FaZe Banks said, "Yeah, we're not going to take any of that money. We're not going to take it, even though the contract says this. Don't worry about it, man. I'm not going to take it." That doesn't matter. I wouldn't trust that. I would tell you, and I think any attorney would tell you, get that in writing, and then draw up a new contract to have that be part of it, and negotiate your new rates. So the final thing, and one of the most interesting things I think, is the California Talent Act. And you might not say, okay, well, blah blah blah, but in the actual code, California code, it doesn't specifically list gamers. It goes on to say kind of an etc. So, actors, musicians, entertainment, maybe influencers, but it doesn't specifically say e-gamers and YouTube stars. So what constitutes a talent? Or and that's one thing that the court is going to need to decide on. And maybe what will happen is the statute will most likely stay the same, and then people will refer back to this case. and say, okay, the ruling in the case favored e-gamers to be listed under talent for purposes of the California Talent Act. And they're going forward to really change the industry. And I think this is one of the things that people miss out on. So now that we've covered the lawsuit and my feelings on it, really you have breach, unconscionability, and the California Talent Act. Those are really the three things that I got out of it. Going on to that, and like I said before, this is all about the contract and contract negotiations. So in contract law, you have one of your basic principles is called the meeting of minds. That means party A and party B, their minds meet and they agree on something and they sign it, and it's good for A and it's good for B. And then in contract law, you have to generally have these things, and essentially A will do for B, and that equals the contract. And then below that, you would have B will do for A, and that'll equal the contract. And those two combined actually what makes the contract legally binding, right? So, you know, I have to do something for you and you have to do something for me. Now we've got ourselves a contract agreement. Otherwise it's just a gift, or it's not void, or not valid. So you have the meeting of the minds, and this is what's happening here. There's no meeting of the minds. In contract law, both parties have to agree. They have to sign off on the paperwork. And a lot of times in the legal community, you have contracts going back and forth, and you edit the document. You say, oh, I don't want this, I want this. Blah, 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 back and forth, back and forth. It's a negotiation, just like anything else. And what we're seeing here is that Tfue doesn't want any part of these negotiations. Maybe when you say they sent all these contracts and they're great deal, and it was released that FaZe Clan sent all these contracts that were super good for Tfue. I mean, they were going to give him 7-figure salary, and they weren't going to take a dime from him. And so what I see that as, one of the things I see that is there's been a lot of an emotion in this trial, and what you're seeing is that it looks like FaZe Clan is really trying to retain Tfue. They want to keep him on the team. They're making money off him, if not directly. I'm not saying through all the prizes or sponsorship deals or merchandise. I'm talking that you are promoting their brand. You're making them bigger. With your moniker attached to his games, to his, to everything he does. When he shows up, he's repping FaZe Clan. That's money in your pocket. That's promotion that you can't get anywhere else. And that's why I think that he'll be considered talent, going back to the first point of the California Talent Act. Really, I think it comes down to that. It comes down to Tfue wanting to get out of this contract, the contract not being good for him. And I'll say this, historically, the reason we have contract law and the reason that we have these freedom of employment, you as an individual are free to work wherever you want to work for the rate that you think you deserve. And I don't see that. I think that's really the whole point. And if you're not focusing in on that, I think you're missing it. That Tfue is an independent agent. He's an individual. He's an American citizen. And the issue at hand is, can he work wherever he wants to work? And I believe that he should be able to. Now, there's certain things in the contract like exclusivity. I think that's fine, preventing him from working for direct competition, giving them trade secrets, competing against his teammates for a short period of time. And in other videos they've covered that's really not the issue. The exclusivity is, it's totally fair, it's totally reasonable for industry standards, or even just standards with exclusivity and non-compete clauses. So you'll see that in your normal employment contract. I have one for the job I work at. You probably have one for the job you work at. Non-compete / exclusivity. I want to bring this back to the fact, and I think this will hone in on the point I'm trying to make with freedom of where you work. And so this is really birthed out of indentured servitude, right? That, okay, well, I floated you across the Atlantic Ocean to come to the United States. You got to work for me for 10 years. And during your time working for me, you got to pay me X amount of dollars per week to live at my place, because you can't own your own place because you paid for the ticket, which you owe me for. And they get locked into these deals that are really unfair, and they become basically a indentured servitude. They're trapped because they can't get out of this debt. And I'm not suggesting that's exactly what's happening with FaZe Clan. I'm not saying they're trapping Tfue. He's making millions of dollars. He's obviously not been trapped. He's not in indentured servitude, but the principle still remains. How long do I owe you, right? Tfue worked really hard. Yeah, they put him on. Yeah, they made him into what he is today, arguably. Although, you know, it was a lot through his hard work and his talent. But is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? How long do I really owe you before I can go do my own thing? And for a young, blossoming young gentleman who's really got his whole career ahead of him and is looking to make an impact on esports in general, he wants to get out there and do his own thing. I mean, yeah, he's making money, but maybe he wants to establish an enterprise, or maybe he wants to feel free to negotiate his own contract deals. And I think that we saw that also in the contract deal that they're preventing brand sponsors, which is totally normal. It's something that happens, but Tfue was prevented from getting a HyperX sponsorship deal. I rock HyperX, they're the bee's knees, because FaZe Clan goes with, I think, Astro or something like that, a competitor in the industry. And Tfue was standing to make money, to, you know, have this sponsorship deal with a great company, to advertise, you know, et cetera, probably get affiliate, you know, every click, every link, he's making money on it. And to be prevented from probably a multi-million-dollar contract because your team reps something else, and really maybe you're not seeing the benefit because it's a team deal, so you're cutting a percentage of that, and the team is taking a certain percent and everyone else is getting a little slice of the pie, whittles down your chunk. So it makes sense that he wants to get out of this. Personally, I'm with Tfue. I'm all about the independence of a person to work and choose where they want to go and be employed to get the best deal. I think that in today's standards, that the companies don't look out for our best interests. So it's really up to you as an individual to secure the best contract. If you're not getting paid right, if you're not doing the things that you want to do, if your job sucks or your boss sucks, man, go somewhere else. And I really don't think that any of these things they're throwing out, that they're disappointed, I think that's just an emotional tactic. You can see that if FaZe Clan really thought the deal was unfair, they would have renegotiated a contract long ago. And frankly, if I were them, if I were their attorneys, and or just as an individual, I would say, man, if you had me sign a deal like that against not in my own best interest, even though you didn't collect, do I really trust you to sign another deal with me? And the negotiations aren't going well. I want to go do my own thing. I don't understand why you're stopping me. And it's unfortunate, but it's an important part that you need to understand, that the legal system is there to prevent those things from happening to you. So I want to make a lot more videos. I'm going to close out. I want to make a lot more videos. I think to summarize real quickly, the lawsuit is cool, and it could have some real impact on the YouTube and e-gaming industry, and specifically the talent in there. So that's something to focus on as it comes to fruition. Although I think with this particular issue, with Tfue and FaZe Clan, it's all about the contract. It's all about, he doesn't want to be a part of it. It doesn't matter what offer you're going to send him. You could pay me $2 billion. I don't want to work for you. I want to do my own thing. I think that's perfectly fair. He should be allowed to do that. And I don't think the fact that they said, oh, well, we made you who you are, that's nice, but I want to go do my own thing. I think that's totally credible, and it applies and is relevant and really is what American contract and employment law is all about. It's about that freedom to be employed and do what you want to do, and not really be controlled by a company that may not have your best interest at heart. So yeah, if you like the video, if you want me to put out more content on just legal opinions on case law regarding to YouTube, entertainment, I would love to give my opinion, albeit I will still be making some educational content if you want to go to law school, or if you're interested in checking out what law school is all about. Pop on the channel, smash the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, let me know what you think. All right, guys.